you add in the shivings and that sort of thing, and there's a whole lot of death and recipe for ghost stories.
Hello and welcome to See You Live. I'm Susan Post, Associate Editor of Columbus Underground, and I have with me today Bucky Cutright, who is the founder and co-owner of Columbus Ghost Tours. And we are standing in Greenlawn Cemetery, actually, so very on point for these videos. Today we're going to talk about some of the most haunted places in Columbus. Halloween is coming up here in a few weeks, so definitely the time to dig into the city's haunted history. In getting ready for this video, you sent me a list of Franklin County hauntings and legends, and holy cow, I was not prepared for how many are on that list.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are places that folks are probably really familiar with. So like some people might not realize it, but the Arena District and Nationwide Arena are built on the former site of the Ohio Penitentiary.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about the history there.
Okay, well, actually that was the site of the second Ohio Penitentiary.
Okay.
The first one was about a mile south along the river where the Cultural Arts Center is now. Whenever Columbus was founded in 1812, the very first building they built was a prison because they wanted to use prison labor to construct everything else. And the first one was way too small, and then they had to keep expanding it and realizing, wow, Central Ohioans have a great capacity for evil. So eventually, in 1834, they built this massive penitentiary on the site of the Arena District, and it was there until 2000 when it was torn down to construct that. So it
has some spooky haunts there now, or?
Yeah, well, yes, and the prison itself was renowned for its ghost stories. It saw 315 electrocutions, 29 hangings, and then there was a fire in Easter of 1930, Easter Monday, that killed 322 people. So you add in the shivings and that sort of thing, and there's a whole lot of death and recipe for ghost stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
OSU also has its share of haunted history as well. What are some of the most popular legends tied to the university?
Well, there are a lot of fun ones. One of the more well-known stories is the ghost of Olive Branch Jones, who was the first full-time librarian at OSU, and she's been spotted in Thompson Library. Also, she's thought to haunt Orton Hall, where the library was housed briefly.
Creepy. Well, I know Mirror Lake has some weird history, because I used to work at Mirror Lake when I went to OSU. Never had anything creepy happen, but was there some late nights. So what are some of the legends tied to Mirror Lake? Well,
there's a few different stories. There's a woman who was seen ice skating in the winter. Now there's some urban legends about her being a wife of a professor who loved to ice skate, and one of the legends says that she committed suicide, which I have found no evidence of that. But there is a creepy ghost story that says if you on certain nights are at Mirror Lake and you look through the trees, you'll see her silhouette hanging from a tree. But like I said, I think that's more urban legend. There's a story of a student in the 80s who broke her neck from a sorority while she was participating in the Mirror Lake, Michigan jump. There were some people that were injured doing that around that time frame, but I've never found any evidence of someone actually dying. But they say that you can hear the screams and splashing, and there have been students found dead in there. There was actually a couple of years ago a student unfortunately broke his neck and died.
Yeah, I know they kind of put a stop to the whole thing after that.
But there was a case in the 80s where some students were walking along and they saw something bobbing in the water, and it turned out to be the top of the head of another student who had gone missing and supposedly committed suicide.
Wow.
So, and the most well-documented death that happened there it was a professor of economics who had a deal go bad, and he committed suicide on the hill where Pomerine Hall is. Frederick Convert Clark was his name. So he's supposed to haunt that as well.
Mirror Lake's got some rough history there.
Yeah, it does.
So those are a couple of more well-known spots, but what are some other kind of hidden gem, most haunted places in Columbus?
Well, one place on our tours that always really shocks people and is actually quite active. People they produce evidence of paranormal activity there. we've had things happen on tours. It's the boathouse at Confluence Park, actually.
Oh, okay.
Which isn't one you would really think
Yeah.
is haunted. It was built in 1986. It's not a very old building, but it really does have it's packed with ghost stories.
Well, that was actually one of my questions. Like when you've been doing these tours, have you guys had anything weird or kind of unexplainable happen to you while you're out?
Yeah, we have actually. You know, we started these as a way to introduce people to local businesses and local history, and do so through ghost stories. And that was about it. But it wasn't too long into doing these that we started noticing strange things happening. Yeah, I've had something blow on my cheek before when I was in the middle of telling stories. We've had things turn up in photographs. You know,
kind of like light, like orb things.
Well,
or...
yeah. The very first tour we ever did, there's a kind of fuzzy, hazy image behind me, taken in a cemetery. Actually, it looks like a little boy.
Yikes!
Yeah, I wasn't prepared for that either.
Yeah.
But you know, people have heard. We hear children laughing sometimes, and some of these, just all sorts of strange things like that. So,
spooky. So you really get the experience going on the tour. It
yes,
like.
yes, you do. Sometimes they're not predictable, but yeah.
So wrapping up, what is one haunted place in Columbus that everybody should visit?
One of the most really notable haunted places that people should visit is the State House. It's got great ghost stories and a great history, and some of these stories are tied to the building's history as the Civil War stop. It was training grounds on the lawn there. They used the basement as a triage, and
they still do reenactments and shoot off the cannons and terrify all of downtown.
Yes, they do. So I mean, that's one that I think is just loaded with history. But there's so many great spots. The Thurber House Museum, Kelton House Museum. All those are really wonderful haunted locations that are free to visit.
Well, let us know what haunted places you're going to check out. Thank you so much for some insight and suggestions.
Yeah, thank you, Susan.
Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks. Thank you. Happy Halloween.